Who's Tom Byrne?
I'm Tom Byrne. I am an artist. I'm a painter. I'm a thinker. I'm a lover. I'm a family man. I got into painting. I got into painting as a kid. I just loved it. It sucked me in. Paintings move me. Even now, I look at a painting and certain paintings just move me. They have an effect on me that music doesn't have on me, that literature doesn't have on me, that film doesn't have on me. They have always had a deep effect on me for some reason or other, and it sucked me in, and I love doing it.
Is it a passion?
Is it a passion? Well, it is a passion, but it's more, I suppose I say it'd be closer to an addiction.
And tell me about the show that's coming up next week.
Right, the show that's coming up next week again. It's portraits, mainly portraits, and it's based on the history of Ireland, and it's a brief history seen through the eyes of our Nobel Prize winners, and it basically, like, the theme, that's the overall theme really behind it, but there's an underlying theme that, you know, like, everybody lives their lives separately inside their own heads, and what I've done in these portraits is I've taken, through their writings, through specific literature that they've written, and which was inside their heads, and I put what was in their heads out around them on the canvas.
So who's in it?
Who's in the show is, portrait wise, it's Seamus Heaney, Samuel Beckett, James Joyce, George Bernard Shaw, and Yeats behind me here. Also, it's in an octagon. It's in an octagonal room. So I've whittled it down to 8 paintings, 1 painting on each wall, and it starts off with the famine. So here we are now in the cocoon of the Tom Byrne studio, and this is the Yeats painting that's going into the octagon. Now, the concept behind this painting is that it's a portrait of Yeats, inspired by his poem, The Lake Isle of Innisfree. The funny thing is, I actually go to my dad, he was the first person to show me how to draw. I take photographs because he's quite immobile now, but I've taken photographs of these paintings and I showed them to him, and he's merciless in his criticism, which is nice because he's not too polite, you know. Well, this painting is it's a portrait of Joyce, and it's a portrait of Joyce inspired by the book Ulysses. I started painting, and I've been painting these characters since around 2006. So I started painting portraits of Joyce, Beckett and all them around 2006, and it started off around then, and my interest has grown as I go along.
Have you read Ulysses yourself?
I have, yeah. I read it twice.
Did you complete it?
Yeah. I did, yeah.
And did you enjoy it?
I love it. I absolutely love it. It changed my life. It is the best book that's ever been written. For me, the whole theme behind it, from my point of view, is how the Irish became dispossessed of their land, and they were sent to Connemara. The land was taken off them, and they were given the land in Connemara. So this is basically a scene from Connemara. But again, it's all what's in his mind, you know.
Is this based on a photograph?
That's a famous photograph by John Minahan. So that's what it's based on.
Have you ever destroyed paintings?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Big time. Destroyed plenty of paintings. Yeah. And I think it's one of my philosophies. And you asked me before, like, you know, like, to advice for younger people starting out. And one of my philosophies is that with great creativity also comes hand in hand great destruction. And it can manifests itself as self-destruction. And for artists need to be aware of that. Don't self-destruct. And there was a time in my life where I could have self-destructed because I didn't understand that. That, you know, especially if you are being very creative, it can lead to being destructive as well. You sort of keep it well pulled when we flip it. You ready?
Yeah.
Go. Whoa. Oh, hang on. Jeez. Oh, shit.
Okay, Tom, what's happening today?
Right, well, we're setting up inside. Got about 3 or 4 of them already hung and stretched, and we're in the process of stretching the last one, and the lads are in there now hanging them up. The newspaper interview early on, which was supposed to be for 20 minutes, turned into an hour, and then I've been organising posters for the fences and that, which turns out quite well now. And they're getting banners for the front and all that.
Do you feel more at home here than in Wicklow?
That's a funny question. I actually I'm a city dude, like, you know, but I have to say I like nature as well, like, but yeah, I feel at home here, yeah.
So how do you think the paintings look?
Yeah, I think they look well. They're hanging well. I love the walls, love the chains, love the shabby chic, and they're going up reasonably okay. The walls, some of the walls are hard to drill into, but the lads are doing a great job so far. Yeah, looks great. Very happy with it.
Did you know where each one was going to go, or does that happen when you come into the room?
No, I had it all planned because I've been in here a few times. Yeah, it starts there with Joyce USA's a Dublin painting either side, because that's about Dublin. Then the 2 smaller ones run under the windows. Then Beckett there, Joyce there, and Heaney at the back.
Like, did Seamus know you were doing a painting of him before?
No, he didn't know. No, but he has. I did a portrait of him that he had. Yeah. But I found him to be like, he's not what you imagine a poet is going to be like in a tweed jacket. He was quite big and strong, and you know what I mean, very assertive and very northern, I suppose. Like he's coming through the troubles, you know. Like all the portraits, it's really what's going on. I'm trying to bring out the portrait of him, and this is what's going on in his mind. You know, when he sees these 2 figures on the street, and she's selling flowers, and she sees this guy buying flowers, and then it's almost like the whole story comes into his mind. You know, and he sees the story, he sees the play.
So what's the story of the famine?
Yeah, well, these are the funny thing is, right, there's the famine ships here and this one, right, which was, you know, the tragedy of the genocide that happened, you know what I mean, people dying and starving, and they were going off on these death ships. And then in this one here, which is it's the end painting to the series, the famine ship is up here in this one, on the docks. The famine ship is here, and it's a tourist attraction. So we're making money out of the famine, you know.
And okay, one wish for Thursday.
One wish for Thursday. I wish that some guy comes in and buys them all.
So what's your overall impression of how you think it looks?
Yeah, I'm happy with it, yeah, so far. Overall impression, just, yeah. It looks good. Looking forward to it tomorrow though.
What's on tomorrow? What's the plan?
Just it's all over.
What do you do tomorrow?
It's all over. Relax, yeah.
Would you paint?
No, I won't be painting tomorrow. I don't think so. I painted today though.
Did you?
I did, yeah.
Hey Brenda, what are you doing here?
What am I doing here? Well, I ask myself that all the time. What am I doing here? But, you know, short of having an existential crisis and being a Joyce fan, I'm just trying to earn a few bob.
And what do you think of the paintings?
I think they're brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And I can say that as someone who's read both Ulysses and Finnegan's Wake.
How you doing? What's your name?
I'm Ray Yates. I work for Dublin City Council and I'm the arts officer.
Okay. And are you familiar with Tom's work?
I am, although only recently. We met and we talked about his work there about a month ago, and he's asked me to open his exhibition. So it's a very impressive, high impact work, and it's amazing to see it in this setting. I think there are things that are invaluable, things that we can't put a value on, whether it's appreciating the sunset or listen to a piece of music or Tom's paintings. Unfortunately, we eventually have to sell them or transact them, so we have to use money. But I think it's part of the invaluable part of our lives.
Do you think it's something we as Dubliners do very well, creativity?
Yeah, I think Irish people in general, a lot because of our past, a lot because of our ability to communicate in all kinds of various ways, are particularly talented in the area of the arts. I think it's hard to be an artist, mainly because you've placed yourself, at an angle to everyday life. So it's either going to really work in your favour or really work against you, or kind of both at the same time. I mean, those of us that get up to put in a day's work in a traditional way have often no concept for the creative life, like how different that is. I'm sure Tom spent a lot of days thinking about the painting, and that's really hard work.
You're Tom Byrne. Yeah. Oh.
I'm Bob Joyce.
Oh, Bob. How you doing?
We're all the Joyces here.
You're
Marjorie,
Marjorie. Hi, Marjorie.
Keith and Steve.
My grandfather, Charlie, was a brother of James Joyce.
And are you steeped in the history? I mean, are you? How do you find the books?
We have an article in the paper tomorrow, in fact, about the publication of Dubliners. It's in the Irish Times. Tomorrow's the 6th, I think, of June. That's the centenary of the publication of Dubliners. So our father always told us, don't tell anyone you're related to James Joyce. It'll only cause you trouble.
And has that been your experience?
No. It may have been in the early days here in the 1950s and that, the man who wrote dirty books. But I think in recent years it's all changed. Will I quote one to you?
Go on.
I was just lowering the heel of a pint when I saw the citizen waddling to the door, puffing and blowing with the dropsy, and he cursing the curse of Cromwell out of him. Bell, book and candle, spitting and spatting out of him. Or sit down in the parliamentary side of your arse, for Christ's sake. There's always some bloody one or other giving out bloody murder about bloody nothing. It would turn the porter sour in your gut, so it would. That's the Cyclops chapter.
That's a difficult one because my favourite subjects normally have been my family, which is fairly fragmented at the time. But in literature, obviously Beckett, but also right now it's the centenary of Dylan Thomas. And Dylan, of course, I never photographed Dylan, but I did know his wife, Caitlin. And I photographed Caitlin in London in 1970. And then I photographed her going gentle into that good night in Larne. Well, I just think, Tom, what you've done, you've executed, first of all, like Sarah, when she said, the space is beautiful.
Oh, it is, yeah.
It's an amazing, amazing space. And I think when I walk in here, and in the city of Dublin, which these guys have come, Joyce's and Beckett's and Yates and stuff, it's like, I remember reading something about Waiting for Godot because they're Irish. The definitive production, because it happened to be in Ireland. That's rubbish. There's no such thing as a definitive production, or there's no such thing as the best, because out there, away from the radar screen, there are great people working in all spheres, and we haven't discovered them yet. So I reserve my judgment. At this point in my life, I'm just thankful, thank God I'm still here and still doing it. With wisdom.
Where did you photograph Beckett?
London, Paris, but that was it.
Was he a friend? Did you get to know him?
Absolutely, I got to know him as well as more. I got to know him better than some academics who write about him did. That's for sure.
The exhibition is how true the faces are. You know, you're not sitting here saying that doesn't feel right to me, or it's an attempt to distort the face, or you know. So as portraits, and they're much more than portraits, but as first of all as portraits, I think they're particularly successful. But then if you compare, say, the Yeats portrait, the Heaney portrait, and this extraordinary piece of James Joyce, you'd see that the life of the writer is reflected throughout the backgrounds. And I mean, Joyce was the ultimate people person. Do you know what I mean? If you read Ulysses, the characters in the book are so extraordinary. You know, the size of them, the talk of them, the walk of them, everything else. And this particular piece is peopled with people and places and the city and buckets, and you know, that's it. That is so Joyce. Whereas W.B. Yeats is and always was a very solitary figure, right? It's the scale of this work. And I'd like to really celebrate the impact of a large piece of oil painting upon the human spirit. You know, like, I think it's almost been forgotten. You know, there should be kind of 3 cheers for the revival of a massive Caravaggio-sized painting landing in a room, you know. I think that's so exciting. We must never forget, you know, there's a great, on the video there, you see you're up on a ladder. The work, the actual physical work of a painting is probably 90% of throwing yourself into it. I mean, I know a good few oil painters, they always look like a wreck when I meet them. They've been throwing themselves literally, physically into it. So I think that's incredibly exciting. People don't think artists are workers. They're incredibly hard workers. You know, the idea, you know, the lazy artist is that's a contradiction in terms to a large degree. That, and that work isn't always work. Work, of course, is thinking and dreaming, and there's a tremendous amount of dreaming has gone into this. It's not, I wanted to paint this is the tip of an iceberg of a long journey. So it gives me enormous pleasure to say to Tom that he has done an extraordinary, and also done an enormous service to open up this building as a potential gallery. I'm already full of what else are we going to get in here if they let us in. And I'd really like to celebrate him, to hope to God they're bought. Do you know what I mean? Because in the end, we do need to translate this into a living artist and into a working artist. To pay great tribute to your gallery in every way for making this happen, and to say, you know, may you find the buyers with the size of wall and room that will justify this work. Congratulations.
Starting point for this show was from Bishop Berkeley's philosophy, which is that well, one of his philosophies was that everything that's happening in the universe is all happening in God's mind, you know, and that's where this starts. Like, so that everything that's on the canvas is happening in these guys' minds, and all this is happening in my mind. So that's really what that was the starting point, you know, for the paintings.
Ray, what do you think of that painting behind you? Do you want to just
I think what strikes you about it is, I mean, apart from the incredible power of the face, is even in that, I'm sure that's Molly Bloom or Nora, literally in his eye, and the way the characters are talking and mingling on the street. I take it this is this P? It must be from the opening scene here. On the Round Tower and Sandy Cove. It's amazing.
There used to be in Paris a thing like a salon, right? Oh, no, they wear record labels, right? So if you could exhibit in the salon, that was around 1750. This was the Irish salon. This is the Irish. This was built by artists for artists.
Because I mean, it's incredible. I love like there's a natural light and then there's two big windows,
Well, that-
and
they
leave them
weren't-
are in the sun.
No, well, they actually weren't there. It was built, right? And you see the way that's covered in? That was all actually glass. The only light that came in was down the area.
What do you do now? You go for some of the eagle?
Well, I have my son with me and my wife there, so I'll probably just have to bring him home and be babysitter. So it's all go very boring now. Well, not boring, but all very just normal family sort of go home and pay the babysitter. So I had visions of like a big pact and sort of someone wanting to buy them all. You know what I mean? I'll take them now, we'll take them home.
But do you not think it looks well from your visual point of view? Do you not think it looks well?
Oh yeah, no, I love it. Yeah.
I mean, could you change anything?
Not really, no.
I mean, it's pretty perfect. Okay, good luck tonight.
Yeah, well, thanks.
Paintings now, Tom.
The paintings, one is in New York, one was purchased privately by someone in New York. One was purchased privately by somebody in Blackrock. One was purchased privately again by a friend of Seamus Heaney's up north. Another one is hanging in the collection in Lissadell House in Sligo. Another one, the Joyce one, will be hanging in the Lexicon Gallery in Dunleary, the new gallery there in the library. And the aerial Dublin scene will be hanging in a show in the Lewin Gallery this year. After 10 years of working up in Newtown and Kennedy in my studio up there in isolation and like a hermit, I decided that I would move down to Greystones for a change and have an open gallery and open it up to the public so the public can come in and meet me and watch me painting and perhaps even buy a painting off me.
So what now for Tom Byrne? What's happening?
What now for Tom Byrne? Well, I'm putting on this museum show in the Lewin Gallery. It's a municipal gallery, it's connected to IMA and it's the centenary of 1916 and it's a two-man show called The People, The Land, The People.